We're going? Wait, I got to start this thing too. We're going now?
Yep.
All right, Afie, man, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much. Nice to be here.
I'm pumped that you're here right now. Like I was saying on the phone the other day, first time I saw you live was at the Halifax Jazz Fest last year, and it was one of the better nights in Halifax I've ever experienced.
For
It was a
me
great
too.
time.
For me too. It was a beautiful night all around, and the nicest part was that there was just so many different people there. You know, all ages. It was people with their kids and everything, and people with their parents.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds like the same thing, but I feel like there is a distinction. But in any case, yeah, it was a really nice time.
It was a great time.
Yeah.
That's a good thing about Halifax when you go out to things like this. You run into old friends.
Yeah.
Like I remember I was there probably 2 hours early before you went on. You're just having a couple beers, and you just
Yeah.
run to old buddies that you haven't seen in 5 years and
Oh, for
sit
sure.
there, have a couple beer with them. It's
For
nice.
sure. I think
It's great.
everybody's missing that right now.
Yeah, man.
You know, so I am for sure.
So how long have you been in Halifax for? I know you're born in Ontario.
Almost 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah, and my wife and I started coming out here many years ago to have our honeymoon, and then we'd come, every year after that. And then when we had the kids, we'd stay for longer and longer, and then we kind of became people who spend the summers out here. And, it's not the most original story, but basically we fell for the charms of Nova Scotia, and at some point we got tired of going back and forth, and we thought, why don't we just stay here?
That story is very similar to
Yeah.
college kids that
Yeah.
come here for, like, they go to Dallas, Smew, King's College, or they're from
Right.
Ontario. They come here, they're here for 4 years, they work,
Yeah.
meet a girl,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
they stay here, and they're here
Yeah.
for life. Happens all
Well,
the time.
I don't want to let the secret out too much. But,
Yeah, I know.
it does really feel like a special place. I mean, obviously I've already literally bought into it, but yeah, I just been, I think for me, most of my friends, most of my peers, when we said we were moving to Nova Scotia, most people were like, "What?" If I had said we're moving to L.A. or New York or something, that would have been the more
Yeah.
obvious play. But it's just the way I grew up was pretty simple. I grew up fishing and hunting and riding my bike, and I grew up sort of half in Finland and half in Ontario.
Finland?
Yeah, my mother's from Finland.
No way.
And she has 12 brothers and sisters. They're all still there. They all have kids, and their kids have kids. And so I have this huge family there. So my mother would sort of ship me there in the summer times, and I'd spend the whole summer there. And the landscape is a lot like Nova Scotia. It's just rocks and trees and lakes and, surrounded by water. And yeah, so I just loved it. I had such a, fun time being a kid there. And I don't know if it's for me having kids, but I just, more and more the lifestyle here made sense for us. Just the access to nature is you don't even have to try. I mean, it's all around you.
Yeah.
It's sort of a city surrounded by all the best stuff. So you get to kind of have your cake and eat it too out here, I think.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah.
Have you taken your kids back to Finland? Have they experienced it yet?
I haven't yet. No, I mean, truth be told, I've just kind of been busy working the whole time up until recently. It's, any traveling I was doing was mostly for shows, you know.
Yeah.
But my wife and I went there just before we had kids. It was the last time we were there. But it's sort of like Newfoundland. It's pretty isolated, just geographically.
Is it?
It's oh yeah.
I'm
It's
terrible.
not, if you look at a map, it's not really like people think of it as part of Scandinavia, but it's actually like
Finland?
farther up north. It's attached to Russia.
I'm not gonna
And
look it up.
in any case, it's you really got to want to go there. It's not
Yeah.
like you're just gonna like stop there on your way anywhere.
Yeah.
And as is often the case with Newfoundland and with Finland and with many other places like it, it's worth going for sure. I look forward to getting back there, and like I said, I just have so much family there, so it's kind of like it's a no-brainer.
I love having family in other places of the world.
Yeah.
It's an excuse to travel, and you don't feel guilty. Like, you're not going to be at a hotel. You'll be at their place.
Yeah,
It's a
for
nice
sure.
experience. I love it.
For sure.
Summers in Finland, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Culturally, I feel like that's a huge benefit for you. Just coming back to
Yeah.
Canada and just being in another part of the world.
For sure. I didn't know this at the time, but my mother was a single parent. My dad left before I was born, and I sort of benefited from that in a way because I was the oldest kid,
Okay. How many brothers and sisters do you have?
I have a younger brother and sister. They're twins. They're 6 years younger than I am.
Okay.
So, yeah, so it seemed like my mom would, like, basically school would end, and I would go to the airport and get on an airplane by myself. And at that time, that was pretty normal for kids to fly by themselves. But I don't know that people do that anymore. But anyway, I loved it. It was just so exciting.
Yeah.
Like, I would go to the airport. I'd you get to go in the cockpit back then.
Yeah. They'd
give you as much ice cream as you
Yeah,
want.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
They
it
give you
was
the hot towel.
yeah,
They're
and
like,
you
"Yeah,
get to
whatever you
Finland,
want."
everyone's speaking a different language and everything's different. I just it was so exciting. And I kind of know now that it was basically like my mom it was cheaper to send me to Finland for the summer than it was to arrange childcare.
I believe it.
You know what I mean? So like it was sort of a life hack for her, and I definitely benefited from that.
Yeah.
You know, I sort of realized that as I became a teenager that that's what she was doing. You know, because when I became a teenager, I didn't go as often, right? Because then I was taking care of my sister and brother.
Okay.
So it was really those early formative years.
Okay.
When I was 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Those years when all you want to do, if you have a fishing rod and a bicycle, you're happy. You know, so those are just some of my fondest memories for sure. But in any case, yeah, it was it's an amazing place. When my mom left, it was like kind of they were pretty far behind. You know, it was like they didn't have blue jeans or garlic or anything.
What do you mean by that? Blue jeans are like literally? Like,
Yeah,
what do you mean
literally.
far behind?
I just mean like as the rest of the world was going through the 60s and all these progressive movements, Finland was like so far behind just culturally, you know.
Really? In the 60s?
Yeah, for sure. So when she was growing up there, she thought, man, geez, I don't want to just like live in my tiny little town and like sell cheese and bread to like all my neighbors. Like I want to go out and see the world, and I want to do she had all these big dreams. And she would hear the Beatles on the radio, and she thought, I'm going to go, I'm going to get out of here. And she ended up coming to Canada to make a life here, you know. But all I'm saying is since she's come here, in the intervening years, Finland is one of those places that really turned inward, and they solved all their problems. Like they have all the stuff that we're struggling with now, they figured it out 30 years ago, right? The university education and the daycare programs and just like social welfare basically there is, quality of life is very, very high.
Mm.
So when I talk to my relatives now and I say, hey, do you guys ever think about leaving? Do you ever think about moving?
Yeah.
They're like, why would we move?
Yeah.
We all have jobs. We all have cottages. Like life is good here,
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's I don't know if it's the Nokia cell phone company, but they went through some sort of boom that allowed them to kind of like, make everything good there for most people.
That's wicked. I love to
Yeah.
hear that.
Yeah,
It's
it's
really cool.
And it's also just like, it's a small country, right? There's less than 5 million people there. So when you have a smaller population, you can kind of make choices and put them into action quickly and see if they're effective. And if they're not, you can change course,
How's the fan base over there? Do you have a fan base in Europe?
They probably all have the same last name as I do.
Well, that's a good thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, actually, I've never been over there to play.
You must have had the opportunity to, though.
You can, but kind of like I was saying, like the geography of it makes it difficult to route a tour there. When I travel with a band and a crew and everything, it's expensive, right? You got to move, like it's like you're moving 10 or 12 people around.
It's not just you.
Yeah. So, to take a day to travel over there and to play, like you basically have to set aside at least 2 days, in some cases 3, to go play a place like that.
And
right?
it's pointless going over there to play one show. You want to set up 20 or something like that.
Yeah, I don't want to say it's pointless. I'd love to go play there. There's no part of me that doesn't want to play there. But when it's just every day away from the kids and stuff for me is like a big thing, and it's every day away is expensive, right? The days that I'm not playing and stuff cost money. So
yeah.
So it's I will get there and play at some point. But yeah, I feel embarrassed to say I've played in Norway and I've played in Sweden, I've played in Denmark, and basically everything around there. But I haven't made it to Finland to play music yet. But I don't think they really care. Then my relatives will fly over to Sweden. You know that you can get cheap flights there, or used to be able to anyway.
Yeah.
And they have a ferry that goes back and forth. So if I play in Stockholm or something like that, often like I'll see my relatives in the crowd.
Cool.
Yeah.
I noticed one thing at your live concert at the Jazz Fest, other than your music, was you were really good at the banter in between songs. And I've talked to artists on this podcast before, and some guys say they struggle with it in between songs. They don't know what to bring up. They don't know how to adjust to the next song.
Right.
And I thought you were a master at it. You were cracking jokes. You were making fun of exits on the highway. You're like, I see someone from exit 7 here. Stop at Sobeys for me. I'm like, man, this guy's a comedian. Has that always been
Larry
a natural
Utek
thing?
Boulevard.
Yeah, that's what you said. You said something about Larry Utek.
Love that exit.
And like when I said in the intro before you got here, I was like, man, this guy was able to connect with everyone in the crowd. I don't know how many people were there. It was a good amount of people.
Yeah.
But like you connected to me, all my buddies, my girlfriend. You're like, man, like we went home and all YouTubed you and did our research on you just because you connected to people outside of your music, just when you were actually just talking, just being a person. Where does that come from?
Well, I mean, I'll tell you, it wasn't always like that. I definitely, like the early part of my career, it was, just through inexperience, basically. You're nervous. You're thinking about all that sort of thing. You're thinking, geez, like, what should I say? What should I do? And it's one of those things where when you stop thinking about it,
it comes. Yeah.
It comes.
Yeah.
you stop working at it. You know, it's just like anything else. You know, I really like fly fishing, right? And when you're casting the rod, if you're overthinking the mechanics of what you're doing, and the line's going all over the place, it's when you actually stop thinking and then you just cast it beautifully. Just everything feels natural. And I think so much of life is like that. And certainly for me, playing shows and you know, engaging with the audience, you realize it's like, if you don't want to say anything, you don't say anything. And if you have something to say, say it. It's not any more complicated than that. You know what I mean? Like I really don't I don't put any effort into it other than try and be present in the moment. And that's, you know, that people say it all the time. It's almost a cliche at this point, but you know, just be aware of what's happening. Look around. Who's at the show? What are they doing? Are they paying attention? Sometimes people are standing in the front row and they're facing the other way, talking to their friends or on their phone or something. That's a great opportunity for me to say, hey, what's going on?
You're like a comedian.
You paid money to come in here and you're going to turn your back to me? I remember there was this one guy, I played at the Vancouver Folk Festival years ago. And, you know, the folk festivals are interesting because there's so many different bands playing throughout the day.
Okay.
So sometimes what people will do is they want to set up their seat to have the best seat in the house for when the artist that they want is playing, right?
Okay.
So they'll go in the morning and put a lawn chair down, but the artist that they want to see might not be playing till 8 p.m., right?
Sorry. Okay, yeah.
Right? So there's all kinds of different shows happening throughout the day. So I remember I was playing this one show and I looked down, there's a guy in the front row and he was reading Wine Spectator magazine. And at first I took it personal. I was like, geez, man, like I flew all the way out here. You know, I've got these songs. I've made, you know, worked on these record and got this show going. And there's this guy just reading Wine Spectator magazine, you know, and I'm thinking all this stuff as I'm playing. And then at some point he just sort of puts the magazine down. He's just moving his head and he's kind of grooving on the tunes. And then he looks up again. He's reading about his Barolos and things. But anyway, it just sort of dawned on me. It's like, I don't need everybody to engage with my music in one way. You know what I mean? Like he's there. He's experiencing the music. That's good enough for me.
Okay.
You know, it's silly for me to take that personal. I don't need everybody rocking in the exact same way to satisfy my ego or whatever. I mean, the guy paid money to be there. He can read Wine Spectator or Sports Illustrated or whatever he wants to do, you know? But the cool thing is that he was sitting there and listening to the music. So I don't know. It's just something that you learn over time, you know? I don't know that there's any shortcut to it. I think it is easier when you are familiar with a place. And, you know, I think just now that I live here and being able to reference Exit 7 or Larry Utek or something like that, it's funny, right? Because someone in the crowd is like, I use Exit 7
Yeah,
every
exactly.
day, right?
That's what I mean. Like, hey, this guy knows where I live. Larry
Right.
Utek, you know, that's how it works.
It's, you know, it's that sort of stuff is just an easy joke and just a way to connect with people for sure. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's in some cases like it goes so far where I almost think, geez, I'm almost like I'm spending more time cracking jokes than I am playing music, you know? But it's never really a bad thing, you know?
Oh, it's a great thing, I think.
Yeah.
Where'd your love for hats come from, man? You got a great hat collection. I'm like sitting here listening to you. I'm like, do you think you'd trade me that hat?
No.
Like, no, that's a sick hat.
This is a good hat. I don't know. I think it's just like, I think in the early days it was like they were cheap and readily available, right? You're at Value Village or you're like in some thrift shop and there's a cool old trucker cap or something. And so, especially when you're traveling, you know, you can get really cool hats. Like this one's from Texas and
that's a sick hat.
so you know, you can it's just a fun, cheap thing to kind of collect along the way. So I started by collecting all these hats, like if we play a festival or, you know, a late night TV show or something like that. Like basically just take a hat as a souvenir, you know. So in my garage I have a whole pile of these hats that I've collected over the years. And then, you know, I just wear them a lot if I'm fishing or whatever. It's like it's always good to have a hat around.
Good, man.
Yeah.
Good collection to have.
Oh, my wife she's not as passionate about it as I am, but you know, they don't take up much room, so it's better than collecting motorcycles.
I try to like hang up jerseys, and my girlfriend's like, no, not a chance.
Yeah, that's a stronger look, you know.
It is a big look. I get
it. Yeah.
Not even down here. Like we should have some down here. We don't even have any hanging up. But
well, there's time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Music. How is it introduced?
Do you play music?
No, but I listen to a lot.
Yeah.
You want to hear a funny story?
I do.
You don't even know what it is. You're laughing. So when I was younger, I played the violin in elementary school.
Okay.
And I was so bad. Right before the Christmas concert, the teacher came up to me and goes, Justin, you tried really hard this year. I'm really proud of you. You put it all in. But when we're up there in the show, just pretend to play. Don't touch the strings.
Right.
So I'm up there. They call it ghosting.
Yeah.
And I'm up there just ghosting. And, I'm whatever. My mom comes up to me after. Justin, I'm so proud of you. I heard your violin out of everyone. Like, you killed that. Great job. To this day, I didn't tell her.
Sounds like your mom and you and your teacher all nailed it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Everyone was happy at the end. I didn't embarrass myself.
Exactly.
The concert was great, and my mom didn't get hurt.
So
it's a win-win-win.
Well, you call it a white lie or call it what you want, but it sounds like you nailed it. I would encourage you to pick up the violin and see if your skills are still so sharp. I
don't even know where to get a violin.
Yeah.
If you got one laying around, I'll come pick one up and I'll try it.
Well, that's the nice thing about music is just that you can do it into your old age. I mean, a lot of the musicians that I play with now are in their 70s, and their playing is incredible. They've only gotten better. I mean, I think that's maybe the one, let's call it an advantage over athletics, is that, if you can throw a football amazing when you're 22 years old, at some point your shoulder's going to start to give out, and you won't be able to throw that football quite as fast or as far. And with music, it really is about the mind. I mean, sure, of course, if you have arthritis or something, then you might have other problems. But like I said, I've played with so many guys who are they're in their 70s and 80s even, and there's just such a calm confidence that comes with that, because at that point your skills, your base level of skills, your fundamentals are just so ingrained. The mechanics of what you're doing, it's like walking. You don't think about it at all, right?
Yeah.
Someone starts playing a song and you're the drummer and you just start playing the drums. You don't think, okay, I'll do this type of beat or what should I do here? You're literally just playing intuitively. And same thing, there's no shortcut with that. You really just have to earn it and have a life in it. And I encourage all people to sort of just have music be a part of their life, if only for that reason,
Yeah.
Like, don't you think it'd be cool to just be an old man and have something that you've been doing since you were young? In some cases it's fishing or it's some other hobby, but even if it's not your profession, it's like just to be able to pick out a tune on a guitar it's fun, and it's a way to meet people. There's a social component to it. I mean, it's like there's really no negative as far as I'm concerned.
In my brain, the way it works, especially when it comes to athletics, is I always want to be getting better.
Yeah.
So in your mind, you have some amazing songs.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any part of you in your mind that wakes up and goes, okay, no, I have to write a better song?
All
or
the
do you
time.
just go through
all the time?
So there is a little competitive nature in you, but you want to beat yourself.
Huge competitive nature.
Yeah.
Huge competitive.
You want to beat
nature.
yourself.
I want to beat myself, and I, now that it's my profession. You know what I mean? Like, I'm aiming to make the best product that I can. I mean, on one hand, there's an artistic component, which is, like you said, the portion of my job that's artistic is the writing songs, right?
Yeah.
I want to write the best songs I can, make them sort of recognizably mine, and for people to be able to connect with them and have an emotional connection to them. That's really important. But then after that, you got to figure out how to put it out into the world and how to get people to listen to it. I mean, the same way you're doing with your podcast, right? You can sit in your basement all day long and make the most incredible podcast, but right now 80% of the job is just figuring out how to get this out there and get people listening to it. And I don't think that changes as you kind of like go through the steps of success or whatever. It's certain things get easier. You can hire people to help you up the production level and you can make things better, but that hustle, you got to keep that hustle.
Yeah. Because
if you don't, it can just come to a grinding halt, and we've seen that happen a million times, right?
Yeah.
I was just watching this show, this documentary. It's all about coaches. It's on Netflix right now. It's called Playbook, and they have different episodes with Doc Rivers from the LA Clippers and this woman who coaches the U.S. Women's soccer team, and this guy Patrick. I can't even pronounce his last name. He's a French guy. He's Serena Williams' coach.
Mm.
And he talks about working with these athletes, like these elite level athletes. And he's like, they work, and then they have a big success. And then in many cases, they think, okay, now I've made it. Now I don't have to practice 7 days a week. I'll only practice 5 days a week. I won't come in at 7 a.m. I'll come in at 9 a.m. And what happens?
They get bad.
Yeah.
Their
game gets weak, right? The reason why you succeed is because you put in that work. You put in more work than the other guy was willing to. You got to the rink an hour before the other guy was there, and you were doing your shots, and you're ready to go, right? And so, yeah, I mean, before we started recording, we were talking about just getting up in the morning, and I do look a lot of things in life. I sort of look at it that way, right? It's like if I can get up in the morning an hour before my kids get up, I get that little head start, a little bit of momentum going into the day, and music for me, you know, like I've never thought of myself as sort of naturally gifted. I always thought like if I can just put in more work than the next guy, then I can get better, you know. And certainly that's in athletics and in every other thing of life too. But yeah, musically for me, it's I don't say it in a disparaging way, but it wasn't like I was just naturally gifted, you know. I thought that's cool. I like that. I want to do that. You know, I enjoy it. I enjoy the work. I enjoy struggling with something, and then figuring it out. And you're like, holy, it just happened. I just did the thing I wanted to do. And you said, let's try and do it again. And you know, it doesn't come. And then you know, it's like that whole process is something that I really enjoy. So there's always more to learn in terms of learning an instrument. And then as a songwriter, it's, you know, you always want to write a better song. You never want to feel like your best album was the one before. You know, you never want to feel like, oh, I've already done my best work. I listened to an interview with Paul McCartney a few years ago. And the interviewer was asking him, so, you know, like, because he had a new album out. And Paul said, you know, the interview asked him, said, is this your best album? Do you think this is your best music? And he said, well, you know, it's hard because, as you know, I was in the Beatles, you know? And you think, like, even Paul McCartney is trying to make better songs, right? And whatever, he can decide or someone else can decide if they like those songs better. But I mean, the guy who was in the Beatles, who wrote songs that are arguably like part of history, well, there's no argument. They're just part of that classic canon of music, so influential in music and culture and every other way. And even that guy is still trying to write better songs. Yeah. So, you know, you don't have to look too much further to find inspiration. You know, when a guy like that's doing it, it's like, yeah, I like that attitude. You know, that works well for me.
It's almost like you need to have that rock bottom mentality even when you're the most successful.
For
like
sure.
The mentality I had when starting this company when I'm 26 years old, going through my mom's couch to look for toonies to get pizza down the street, that's when I was the hungriest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like right now we're doing well. Like we're not great, but we're doing well. But I still have that hungriness of,
well, dude, you know? I mean, that's the reason why I'm sitting here. Like, I admire your ambition. I mean, I get asked to do a lot of things, you know, but you sent that video, you sent it over, you said, here's my studio, this is what I've built, and, you know, if you want to come on the show, we'd love to have you. Simple, to the point. You're not trying to pretend you're to be something you're not. Oh, like, that's what's required in all facets of life, and I think people respond to it, people respect that, and, you know, if you can sort of carry that as your business grows, then I think you're going to have nothing but success.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think this was probably a year ago now. This was before the Jazz Fest. Me and my buddies were sitting around. We're watching your outdoor video that you made.
Okay.
And we were all arguing about, no, that's in Nova Scotia. Like, no, that's in Ontario. Like, no, that's in Alberta Lake.
Right.
Settle the score for me and my friends. Where was that lake?
I was in, it was in Ontario. It's the French River.
I thought it was Nova Scotia. I said Bridgewater somewhere.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to make one in Nova Scotia. I'm sure I will at some point.
Such a sick video.
Yeah, it's pretty fun, eh? So that's a camp that I've been going to for many, many years. My friend Evan Penny owns that place. And, yeah, it was just, whenever I have a new album, I try to make video content that's usually not about the music. You know, I've done one with my mother, and it's all in Finnish with subtitles. And I've done one with my friend Russ, who owns a restaurant, and we went, you know, shopping for the restaurant. Yeah. And I just find, like, it's more interesting to show that sort of stuff than it is to just have a video of me sitting in front of a mixing console talking about how great my guitar sounds or something.
Because, like, it shows your personality there, too. Like, you're skinny dipping in the water. It's like, that's unreal. Like, who cares? Like, it shows two, like, it's two birds, one stone. You're promoting your music, but you're also promoting yourself. Like, your videos on Instagram, you're showing your personality.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a great thing in business. It's a great thing in life. You're just...
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think you know, you can take two roads. You can kind of choose to create something that is a character, or you can sort of welcome the world into your life, sort of warts and all.
Yeah.
And I think both things are just as much work. You know, it's especially now when we live in this time where it's like there's so much effort to show sort of a manicured lifestyle, and we see pictures of beautiful people and look at this beautiful lunch that I had. And, in some ways, for me, I think the more interesting parts are the parts in between, and figuring out a way to show the struggle a little bit is nice, you know?
Yeah.
And when you do that, then you can enjoy your successes too, right? When you show the other parts, then when you have something that goes really well, you can actually own it and celebrate it. When you own the failures, you can own the success too.
Cool.
Yeah.
Do you still have that Land Rover that you pulled up in? Or is it a Range Rover?
No, I had an old Land Rover. I've always had big
ride.
trucks. Like I said, I like to get outside. I like to go fishing. I like to bring the kids with me. I like to bring a lot of stuff. So I do sort of have a soft spot for those old Land Rovers, but they're
It was sick. It was cool. What
if
year
you
was
like
that?
if you like hemorrhaging money, they're a wonderful vehicle to buy.
Yeah, I've heard that the Range Rovers are.
Yeah, they're mine was like early 2000s, and actually 3 years ago, before we lived here, we did a big road trip through the Maritimes. I had my mother was with us for a while, I had my kids and my wife, and we had the whole thing all loaded up. And it's a cool vehicle for that sort of stuff because it's like meant for going on safari, right? It's got all these windows in the back, and it's sort of the back is sort of elevated a bit so the kids can see out. And so we did a sort of 7-week road trip through Nova Scotia and through New Brunswick and stuff. And that was the perfect vehicle for it. And it was so fun. And then of course we got back to Toronto, and I parked it. I didn't have a parking space in Toronto, so just parking it on the street. And then I would go away on tour. Yeah. So this truck would just sit there for 2 months, right?
Yeah.
And at some point, it goes from being a fun asset to being a liability when you're getting the brakes repaired and you realize you haven't really even driven it in 2 months. So anyway, I sold that, but I don't know. I just have like a Toyota truck, and that works very, very good, and it doesn't seem to break. So
the Tacoma, my dad has one. They're nice.
That's a better truck for me in my current phase of life.
Yeah.
Maybe if in another, I do fantasize. I still look around for those older vehicles. I just like them because they're mechanical. I mean, that's kind of the main thing. My father-in-law has a big collection of cars and motorcycles, and you can actually work on them, right? You can get parts for them. You can work on them. With the new ones, like we have a Volvo, and honestly, it's probably got the same computer that's in your phone, like running the windows and the doors and all the stuff. I mean, oh yeah.
Okay,
these guys are amazing.
I bid on this, was $14 for 100 entries. You win $20,000 in a 1973 International Scout 2.
49 days left.
Is that what it is now? Yeah, I submitted like 3 days ago, but like restored. Look at the interior, brown leather.
Yeah, I mean, those are amazing.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm hoping.
That's what you want. You take the $20,000, you go right to the gas station.
Yeah, I'm sure I'm paying a lot on it. Yeah, exactly, and insurance.
Not right now, actually. I mean, now it's a good time. In any case,
but that's
I mean, just the shape of that is just so nice. You know what I mean? Like most cars, just to me, just look like a stuffed animal, like a round, sort of bulbous, soft thing. It doesn't matter if it's a Kia Sorento or like a Mercedes S-Class. They all kind of have morphed into this similar shape.
Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of I don't know. I hate to sort of just be such an obvious dude, but I do like old trucks and old vehicles. They're a lot of fun.
Yeah, man, they're sick.
Yeah.
I don't own one, but one day I will. They're nice.
Yeah, they're fun if you have a garage, and they're fun if you have time to kind of take care of them, If you have to pay someone else to do just sort of the basic work, it doesn't work as well, And also, I mean, here it's like the climate here is pretty unforgiving on vehicles, right? So it's you want to sort of consider that if you're in a position to sort of house a vehicle that you're only going to drive for 2 or 3 months a year.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
In that video, you were cooking, and I saw like you cut up like a peach or something, and you put it in with the steaks. You cook? Like that was a great move.
I do most of the cooking in our house. When I grew up, my mother was a very, very good cook. She still is, and I mean, food was just like, that was everything. That was the reason why we were hanging out and talking, right? It's like we around the supper table, we're getting together, we're connecting. I mean, I think for most families, that's kind of that's the main time that you're going to spend with each other, So yeah, I mean, I love it. I love it. It's so fun. Grilled peaches. I mean, there's nothing better than that, I think.
Yeah.
It's such an easy move, and people seem to go, wow, I never thought of that.
Well, where do you learn that? Because that's what I thought. I was like, where the hell do you learn that? Did you
Well,
get it
I
on
think
tour? Like,
I saw someone. I've seen people grill pineapple before. Grilled fruit in general is like it's just a cool thing to do. Like grilled pineapple with ice cream on it
yeah,
is amazing. Amazing.
write that down. All right, sounds good.
You know, but like a grilled peach with like I thought of it like you know what a caprese salad is?
No,
It's like an Italian salad. We have fresh tomato with basil and mozzarella cheese.
so
That's
it's like
it.
an Italian,
Yeah.
like,
So you
yeah.
just olive oil,
Yeah.
some balsamic, some salt and vinegar. Very very simple. So I thought, well, why don't you do? What if you did that but with peaches? Right.
Oh,
So
okay.
a little bit of olive oil, grill the peaches, like cut them in half and grill them.
Just put them down.
Yeah. Get a little
Flavor.
char on them. It really just brings out the sugar when you cook fruit like that, right?
Okay.
So they just get a little bit sweeter and they're nice and soft. And then you put a piece of cheese on top and it melts, and a little bit of basil, and watch out. That's a home run in my opinion.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah.
We got like a family cottage out in Bridgewater. A fireplace is always going. I'm gonna try
Nice.
it. Try it out.
Oh, it's so fun. It's so fun. I mean, you can do it just on a flat top too, like in a cast iron pan or something like that. But
Okay.
yeah, I mean, it's always fun to try stuff, you know. I mean, I also have the advantage that I've traveled so much that I've eaten in so many different wonderful places, so much different amazing food.
Love that, man.
So, yeah, my the things I'm interested in is diverse, you know, musically and culinarily. Interests are sort of all over the place. You know?
Yes. Sorry, I haven't even asked you a music question yet. My bad.
That's all right.
Sorry.
I mean,
Yeah.
truthfully, it's refreshing in some ways. You know, it's a lot of the interviews that I would normally do are kind of the same. You're answering the same questions over and over again, so it's nice to talk about peach salad.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's my problem. It's my problem, but it's also the thing I think that people like about the podcast.
Mhm.
Like, we have hockey guys on. I won't bring up a hockey question until 45 minutes in. I'm
That's
like, oh
all right.
yeah, it's just.
That's all right.
Anyways, sports for me was introduced
Mhm.
through like my family and friends. How was music introduced to you?
Music was introduced to me through my friends. I did play sports when I was younger, not in any sort of organized way, but we would play just shinny hockey. We'd play basketball. We would just be outside all day and always doing something. And then at some point, Joe Facciolo wanted a guitar. His dad bought one.
Who?
Just like a kid I grew up with.
Oh, okay, sorry. I thought.
Like I just mean like my friends started to get guitars.
Okay.
And then suddenly I was like, damn, I want a guitar, But like I said earlier, we grew up pretty lean, so my mom couldn't just like afford to go out and buy a guitar. So I kind of had to wait. So I would go over and play my friends' guitars for the first little while. And, when they would put them down and go play video games or something, I would kind of just try and figure out some chords and we're really into Nirvana and just like grunge music and stuff like that. So it's pretty simple music and just trying to get a head start on that. It just seemed cool. And then at some point, my mother brought home, she got a guitar at a yard sale and it had a hole in the back and she like sanded down this piece of wood and glued it on the back and she fixed it up. And that little guitar did me a long time before I got an electric guitar.
Do you still have it?
I do. It's at my mom's house. I
Sick.
mean, I haven't seen it now for a long time, but it's somewhere up in the attic there. And then, yeah, I babysat for some people. They had an electric guitar in the basement with like 2 strings on it, and it was in pretty rough shape. But I sort of made a deal. I said, "What if I babysit your kids all summer? Would you, give me that guitar?" And they agreed to that, and that. So I had the acoustic guitar, and then I had this electric guitar, and then right away we started making little bands and writing our own songs and stuff like that. So it was really just through osmosis, just through my friends.
What does osmosis mean?
Osmosis means like if you put cream in that coffee, it starts to turn into one thing, right? Like I wouldn't have discovered it. Like just if you're close to something, you start to get involved with that thing.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe that's not a very good definition of osmosis.
No, it's a good word. I just wanted to
know. But yeah, it's just through proximity, through being close to that. It's sort of I'm lucky that I found that, and then I sort of ran with it as my friends. They were like, "Oh, this is too hard. I'm going to do something else." I just sort of stuck to it, and like I said earlier, I just enjoyed the work of figuring it out. So, yeah, I just in the early days, it was really just like a lot of time, like just like anything else, like your progression feels like it's really quickly. Like you just feel like, oh my gosh, I'm getting better. Like every day I feel like I'm getting better. And then at some point that starts to level off. And if you want to get 5% better, if you want to get 5% faster skating,
Yeah.
The amount of work that you would have to do to skate 5% faster.
Yeah. See
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
like everyone in the NHL is good, but to be that much better,
exactly.
it's 100 hours
right.
of work. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's the same, with the music, you sort of, definitely for my guitar playing, it sort of got to a point where for me to get even just a little bit better, it's like, it feels like it's so much work, But yeah, I don't know. I just started playing music really early and playing in bands, and it just became my focus right away. I mean, we had our little clubhouse, and we would write songs, and we made little recordings and played shows, and I didn't finish high school. I just sort of like played music.
No, you didn't finish high school?
No. A few years ago, I got an honorary diploma from my high school. I think they, they were eager to include me on this thing they were doing, and so they gave me this diploma, which was really nice because my kid was there and my mom was there and she was crying, and it was just like a nice, goofy moment for us to share together, But yeah. So when all my friends went off to university, I was like, I'm gonna play music.
But was there any doubt in your mind when your friends went off to university? Like there wasn't I'm not going to be an accountant. I'm not going to have a straight life. Like I kind of went through that where my friends started to went off and they had straight arrow jobs and they're buying the house, and I kind of went through that phase of fuck, my life's going to be a little bit different. Did you ever have that problem, or did you were just?
I mean, I'm sure there was some process that I went through.
Okay.
I can't pinpoint it. If nothing else, I just like I said, I just enjoyed it. So I always tried to put myself in situations where I could play, whether it was my own music or someone else's music. Like I just never really let myself get bored, I still don't.
That's good advice.
But the other thing too that I've sort of figured out early on is that if you work for someone else, no matter how high up you get, you're never really going to be in control, right? Someone else determines your salary. Someone else determines when you work. Someone else, So, to my mind, I thought, geez, well, if I do my own thing, then in theory, I could make an infinite amount of money. I could do whatever I want to do. And I think anyone who's an entrepreneur sort of recognizes that. It's like the potential for growth is it literally is whatever you want it to be, right? And so that comes with responsibility, comes with pressure, it comes with, a lot of expectations that you put on yourself, but the upside is infinite, right? So if you're gonna sort of take on a straight job, it's like, just be realistic. It's like, well, what's the best case scenario? Am I gonna make $200,000 a year or 500,000? If it's a money thing, you can calculate that a lot easier than you can calculate your satisfaction in your work, right?
Yeah,
you can't look into the future and say, oh, I'm going to be happy being an accountant 20 years from now. Or maybe you could, but I think for most people, they're balancing they're always balancing these things about money and the enjoyment of the work when they're making these decisions. And some people, frankly, obviously are choosing money in most cases, right? And it's not, I'm not saying in a disparaging way. It's important. You got to make money. You got to buy groceries.
Yeah.
Buy Tacomas. But yeah, I don't know. I think I just sort of recognized that early on that if you do your own thing, then it can literally go to the moon,
Good for you for recognizing that early.
And I would encourage young people to just I mean, now we're really diverging from music, but
your manager's like, what's he talking about?
No, it's fine. It's fine. I just think that I think getting a university education is important for sure for some, but not everybody needs to go to university. What we actually need is people to go to 2-year technical schools to learn trades, and we need carpenters and we need entrepreneurs. We need people opening up businesses and employing other people and you know what I'm saying? That's important. So we don't want to forget that. We don't want to only tell young people that there's only this one way to succeed in life, which is to go to university and then get a job somewhere. There's a million ways to live life.
A bazillion ways.
And anyone who's discouraging their kids from pursuing what they're passionate about, whether it's music or sports or anything, I mean, that's just that pains me. when I hear about that, you know, and said, oh, my dad didn't really want me to do that or something. I just think like you need to find some way to, if your kid shows interest in something, the best thing you can do is just fan the flames, right?
Well, that was my question about your kids. Like, if you see you have 2 daughters, sorry?
Yeah, I have 2 daughters.
So if you have 2 daughters and you see them do something, let's say like they draw something and it's really good, do you go, wow, like do you want to go get some nice more pencils?
Of
and
course.
Like
I mean, my wife and I are pretty aligned on that. It's we just try and have our life and our house be filled with lots of cool options.
Cool.
You know?
Cool.
And the kids kind of, they lead the way. You know what I mean? Like I don't really push them saying, okay, you're gonna play guitar.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no shortage of music in our house, right? There's guitars everywhere. There's pianos. There's instruments all over the place. They'll discover it. It doesn't bother me if they discover it when they're 3 or 5 or 10 or whatever. It's if they gravitate towards it the same way I was saying earlier through osmosis.
It's a great word.
With my friends.
Yeah.
My kids will have the opportunity to do that, you know, and so yeah, we try and fill our life with you know, being outside and fishing and you know, going to the beach and just try and expose them to a lot of different stuff, you know. And same thing with food, right? Try and eat a lot of different food. If I just served them mashed potatoes and ketchup every day, then the palate wouldn't get very developed, you know.
I was such a picky kid as an eater. I think most kids are picky. Your kids aren't picky?
Well,
like
no,
tomatoes and mushrooms?
No, they eat pretty much everything, and but that's only because like I don't, you know, like I said earlier, I do the cooking. I don't make them any special meals. I make dinner, and if you don't want to eat, you know, I try and make 4 or 5 different things.
Yeah.
So if today you only want to eat sweet potatoes and spinach,
Yeah.
and you don't want to eat your chicken, then fine.
Okay.
You know, I don't pressure them, but I just offer a diversity of things.
Yeah.
And usually kids will sort of find a few things that they like, if not all, you know.
I learned so much about fatherhood on this podcast. Like, we got a lot of dads on this podcast. I don't even have kids,
yeah.
but like I'm so intrigued. Like I got buddies that have kids, and I just look at them. I'm like, what are you thinking right now? Like they don't even seem human at the time before they're 10. They're so free. They're so out there. They're so
but
no
we could
concern.
we could all benefit from that. You know, I think we all could. We all need to remember that. Like, even I actually after this I'm gonna go work out. I've been working out with this trainer the last little while. Really cool, and you know, learning a lot about my body and just about how we develop. But you know, when my kids, they can squat down on the floor and they could watch a 2-hour movie in a squat position.
Whoa. What do you mean squat? Like
I'm talking about like this. This is their resting position.
For 2 hours?
They can just sit and play Legos, or they're doing whatever, you know.
I heard that's good for you though. It is like
of course that's what I'm about to say.
Yeah, okay.
Is that when we're born, our bodies are loose, limber. They're pliable.
Yeah.
As we age and we sit in chairs and we drive cars and we sit at desks, certain muscles and certain parts of our body start to sort of, you don't use them, right? So the body says, well, if you're not going to use me, then I'm not really going to stay ready to go. And in some ways, I think the mind is the same way. I think the kids are just wide open. That's why they're so impressionable, right? That's why you have to be so careful about what you expose them to at that age, right?
Yeah.
And I think the mind it can, if you don't stay open, if you think there's only one way to live, then as you get older, you get deeper and deeper into that groove, and you think, oh, geez, anyone who doesn't do life the way that I do it is wrong. And why would you want to be like that?
Well, I think that's the mentality of everyday living, of waking up and doing the exact same thing.
Yeah.
The benefit of what you and I do is that something is new every single day. You know, tomorrow I'm going to have a guy on here who's not an artist. I'm going to have a guy who does something else.
Right.
You every day, you're waking up thinking of a new song. We're always thinking of new opportunities, but someone that does something every day, the same thing, same drive, same people, same water, same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I have to think that there are a lot of people that enjoy that too. You know what I mean? Like I'm sure there's so many wonderful things that come out of that. You know, like my father-in-law worked for the University of Toronto for 30 years. And he loved the people that he worked with, and they did big projects, you know, building projects and things like that on the campuses. And he was engaged in his work, but he also had a rich life outside of his work, right? He's got his hobbies. He's got 50 motorcycles in his car collection he's always working on. They live on a farm. They have chickens and horses, and my wife grew up that way. And again, you're never bored. There's always something to do.
Well, that's
You
what I
know?
like what you said about. I asked you, was there ever a struggle of your friends are going off to do this, but you're doing this, but you just said I was just never bored.
Mm-hmm.
That's good advice for I think people listening. Just don't be bored. Always be thinking.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of, for me, it's funny because like I say never be bored, and then at the same time, for me to write songs, I have to let myself be bored.
No way.
I can't be watching Netflix. I can't be listening to podcasts. I have to just daydream. I have to like empty the mind, you know? Because if I'm distracted, then the ideas don't come. So it's like that's a big part of my process is just daydreaming. I mean, as stupid as that sounds, it's just like allowing yourself the opportunity for something to come into your mind or to see something and say, you know, that's kind of interesting. Maybe that's a song, you know? Some of my best songs I think are just written because I'm open. I'm not focused on any one thing, you know. I have a little office at home. I don't have a studio or anything like that at home.
You can use this whenever you want, man. Come on over.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah, no worries.
But yeah, I just like I go into my little room there. I have a little couch in there. I have a desk in there, and I sit on the couch and I read, or I'll look out the window and I think, you know what? Bad boys need love too. I like that idea. That's a cool idea. And then I think, wait a sec, is that a song? You know, and then it'll sort of start from there and turn into something. But for me, that's I know some other people, they do it in different ways, but for me, that's kind of always been the way I do it.
That's nuts. Like I wouldn't even know where to start to write a song. Like that's just so weird, but so cool. You just sit there.
Yeah.
And bad boys need love too. Like where the fuck does that
Well,
come from? It's just
yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's
you just have to be distraction free.
well, it's not. It's yeah, it's sort of a balance, right? Because it's like I do think that for me, discipline is much more important than motivation. Like I have to just give myself a chance for the ideas to come. So that means I have to put myself in that position as often as possible, right? I have to get myself into that office, even if I don't think I'm gonna write a song.
Okay.
I have to get into that zone, free my, no, I'm not gonna do anything else. I'm not gonna watch a movie. I'm not gonna read a book. I'm not gonna do anything else.
Why do some artists go, like I've heard artists like Kanye West, like that was a great video the other day that you did.
Yeah.
That was funny. And like Jay-Z and like the Red Hot Chili Peppers, when they do albums, they'll like rent a house somewhere and record for like a month.
Right.
Why is that? Is that kind of what you're talking about right now?
Well,
or?
I think that's definitely like a lot more people used to do that. There used to be a lot more money in the music business, and so you'd have these exorbitant budgets to write and record. So I think that, yeah, if I had the resources, maybe I would expand the way I do things in that direction. And I suppose I have, in some ways,
Yeah.
but I think often it's like you just want to get yourself out of the familiar, right? You want to get yourself out of your everyday routines.
Okay.
So, and it for the same purpose, because you're hoping that if I take myself out of my everyday routines and my mind is open, then a new idea will come. You know, if everything else is new, then maybe my idea for the music will be new. And I definitely like to do that when I record. I usually just go somewhere else to record. This new record I recorded in Toronto, and before that I've recorded in Los Angeles and the Prague and like all over the place. It's nice to just be in a somewhat foreign place to there's something I like about just being a little bit uncomfortable or something, you know what I mean?
Cool.
I mean, not that you're asking for a sports analogy, but it's kind of like just like when you play an away game versus a home game. It's like, yeah, the home game has the obvious advantage or whatever, right? It's like, it feels good, it feels familiar, but it's awesome to go away, and it's awesome to win when you're away too, right? Because it's just like it's the whole experience, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you ate in a restaurant, you stayed in a hotel, you had a great game, and you get to come home with all that feeling, right?
That was what Kobe said.
Yeah.
He's like, I like playing at home, but I love playing away.
Yeah.
You just
yeah.
loved it.
I mean, I sort of feel the same. I love traveling, and I love sort of like being in places where you don't really know what you're doing. That's kind of the nature of touring. Is it's sort of this organized chaos. You have a schedule every day.
Yeah.
But you sleep on a tour bus, right? So you wake up in a new town, and you might be in an industrial area. You might be in Bears Lake, if that's where the venue is.
In the Walmart parking lot.
Yeah, you might be in the parking lot of a Walmart.
Yeah.
And I've slept in the parking lot of many Walmarts. Or you might be, downtown Chicago in some cool neighborhood, and you wake up and you're like, oh my God, and you have 2 or 3 hours and you can walk around and explore something.
Awesome.
And that's, yeah, it is. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. For sure.
I'd love to tour one day.
Yeah, you should, man. You got to get your violin skills back up.
I know. I might need some lessons. Oh yeah, I was gonna ask.
Mm-hmm.
When I find like a lot of artists when they first start out, not that they copy other people, but they look at their other people's styles in order to gain confidence. I know I did. Like I wanted to be Joe Rogan. I still want to be Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
And like I looked at Casey Neistat when he started his videos. Well, that's sick. So I started buying some cameras and kind of copied other people as I started. But then I feel right now, 290 episodes in, I'm kind of coming into my own style of podcast. I'm kind of getting a little bit more comfortable and confident. How did you start out with that? Was there anyone that you looked up to and you're like, oh, I could kind of do something similar to that? Or were you just you right from the get-go?
No. Strangely, I actually, when I first started, it was like we liked AC/DC and Nirvana and just like the stuff on the radio.
Yeah.
And then when I got into high school, I had this really cool girlfriend who introduced me to Sloan and Thrush Hermit and Super Friends and a lot of the music that came from here, came from Halifax. In the 90s, there was, I'm slightly older than you are, I guess, but in the 90s, there was there was a big music scene here that sort of received a lot of sort of global recognition. And people were looking at Halifax as if it was the new Seattle, and they were flying in here to see bands play, and they were signing bands, and there was like a bit of a gold rush for music from here. A lot of it was based on Nirvana's success and just the whole the idea of grunge music in general, right?
Yeah.
It's like you don't have to be this like super dexterous musician like Steely Dan or something and just play every note. It's like there's actually really good music that's like 3 chords and just like it's rock and roll essentially, Anyway, so she passed me this tape and it had Hermit on it and it had Super Friends and it had Jail and it had like a bunch of cool bands that were from Halifax, and I thought I like the music, but I also just like learning about them and learning about Murder Records and the label that they had made their own label and they put out their friends' albums and stuff like that. And I just liked that idea. I was like, that I could do that. I sort of saw it as something that was accessible to me. When I looked at AC/DC, I never thought, oh, I can do what AC/DC are doing. But when I saw these bands, what they were doing and making music with their friends and basically making independent records, that seemed accessible to me and doable to me. So that was pretty big inspiration early on, musically and otherwise. And then, when I started playing, like, I had my own music, I had my own songs and I had my own bands. And at some point I realized that, like, man, my songs just, like, they're not developed enough. They're okay, but they're not strong enough to really be competitive in the bigger world.
What makes like a strong song? What do you mean by that?
Oh, jeez. Well, if you can answer that, you'll make $1 billion in the music.
So no one
business.
knows. Okay.
No one knows.
Okay.
No one knows.
Okay.
Right?
So when you made one of your hit songs, did you?
I mean,
know it was a hit song?
you know, in here, as stupid as that sounds, in your heart, you know, when you hear a song and it moves you, that song's got the mojo. Okay. Right? So I was writing songs, but they didn't always have that quality. That still happens, right? I still write lots of songs that you never hear, that I don't, that I even sometimes I record them, I have the band, and we put a lot of effort into them, and then I listen to them and I have to just say, this one's just not, it's not doing it. It's not going to make the album, So in any case, in the early days, I sort of recognized that I liked doing it, but I wasn't getting many opportunities to play. I wasn't getting many opportunities to tour. And so I thought, well, geez, I'm pretty good at guitar. Like, maybe I could play guitar for someone else. Maybe someone would hire me as their guitar player. And then if I played guitar for a great artist, I could go on tour and I could have that experience, So it was like a light went off. Like, I came up with that realization and I put the feelers out there. And like the next day, I got a phone call from this guy, Howie Beck.
It's a great name.
Yeah, and he's a great artist and a great producer, and he's does a lot of studio work. And anyway, he had his own albums at the time, and he said, I'm putting out this album. I need a guitar player. Like, I went over to his house. We basically drank coffee. I don't even know that we played guitar, but we kind of hung out for an hour. He's like, okay, cool, let's do it. So that was like one of my first sort of professional experiences, like outside of my own music, you know, like getting hired by someone else to play guitar.
Did you have like a part-time job at the time? Like,
Yeah.
did you quit and then you got to do this?
Yeah,
That's
I did.
cool.
I did. I worked in a factory for a long time.
What kind of factory?
They made like environmental textiles, like just really like liner. Like if you have a landfill or something, you'd line the earth with like this,
the blacks,
this textile,
yeah. Okay.
so that it's hopefully pulling out some of the toxic stuff
Yeah,
out of
yeah,
our
yeah.
garbage before it leaches into the soil. And
You made that stuff? You made the
I made that, and I made Kevlar like for bulletproof vests, and it was we made all kinds of stuff, all kinds of products, mostly environmental products, but it was like these big looms, right, that are needling. You're putting raw materials into this thing. It goes through all this line, and it gets laid out on a conveyor belt, and it's getting needled by. It's like a giant sewing machine. It's getting turned into fabric.
Cool.
And then it would turn into these big rolls of fabric, and it actually ended up eating my finger there. I don't know if you can see this scar here, but
that's gnarly.
but when that happened, I mean, even this finger is still bigger than these other fingers. But I'm lucky that
you got big hands. You'd be like a good rebounder in basketball
I do have
or
big
something.
hands. Well, it works good for guitar because you can you can kind of get around pretty good, you know.
Good call. So how'd you quit to your boss? You'd call him, or you're just like, listen, man.
Well, it was sort of just these thing that like I had a flexibility in the job, and I could I'm going to go away and play for a long weekend, or I'm going to go away.
Cool.
I'm going to go away for a week, you know, and it eventually got to the point where it's like it just didn't make sense for me, and it wasn't fair to the employer basically to be like constantly asking for time off, you know. And that's when you take the leap of faith and say, okay, I'm going to do this full time. And you know, some days you're eating ramen noodles like 3 times a day, and that's great. That's all that's you know, now looking back, you'd say, man, those were some of the best times, you know.
Yep.
Best years. But in any case, so I started playing with him, and then through him I met this guy Jason Collette, and I toured with him for years. And you know, got to make albums with him and do all kinds of cool music with him. But yeah, we went to Japan, and we went all over Europe. We toured in the States a ton. Like, got to have a lot of experience playing at a very high level, but not my music, right? It was like it was
still,
nice.
That's a great thing for you.
I know, but that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It sort of has given me a big advantage, you know, to see it from that other side. And then through him, we opened for Feist, and over the course of the tour, you know, the bands kind of cross-pollinated a little bit. Like they would play with us, and then I would play with her, and by the end of the tour, I was just kind of like playing guitar for the whole show in her band, and then so then I played with her for several years, and we toured all over the world. We played on, you know, we played on the Grammys, we played on SNL, we did all kinds of cool stuff.
You played on the Grammys.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah, but
what
so
the
I had
hell?
this whole career. No, it's okay. But I had this whole sort of career in my 20s that was like as a side musician, and like that's in some ways it's part of the reason why I started when I came back to my own music, because when that Feist tour ended, you know, she came off the road, and it's like, you know, I was flying high. We were, you know, amazing music, amazing people. We were traveling all around the world, and then the tour ends. And I thought to myself, well, I'm not going to get a better gig than that. Like, that's, you know, the best gig. To my mind, I was like, that's like the best gig I could possibly get. And so in a way, that was kind of motivation to just reevaluate my own songs and say, well, maybe now I could like make a go of my own music, right?
How old are you?
I think I was 27.
Okay.
So, so it just basically, like, the Feist tour ended, and I didn't have a whole lot other things. I had some offers from other bands to go on tour, but like I said, I wasn't all that interested. I'd kind of been operating at that level.
Yeah.
And with, you know, no disrespect to the other music, I just thought like, well, geez, I don't want to like take a step down in that way. I want to like do something totally different. So I made my first record, you know, on my own, and it sort of caught on. People dug it, you know, and it gave me a lot of opportunities to go on tour. And, you know, I had a Subaru out Forester or something, and we would load it full of CDs and drive around and sell them to people, you know. It was fun.
That's all. What time's your workout? Do you have time? Like, what?
I got time.
You sure?
I got time. Yeah. I'll cut you off.
Okay.
Right hard. No. I got time. What?
It's we're an hour in. It's 11 o'clock.
Yeah, that's okay.
You sure?
No, I'm enjoying it. It's good. Yeah.
What's the key to longevity of a tour? I heard it's diet and sleep, but apparently it's hard to eat well and sleep well on a tour.
Well, that doesn't mean it's not important. Even if it's hard to do, I think it's important. I think it's not what it used to be. You know what I mean? Like I think people have this idea that like every night's a Saturday night when you're on tour.
Yeah.
And it could be.
Yeah.
But if you do that, you're going to burn out quick. And I certainly have friends that have gone through that, and the music industry is not very forgiving. If you're someone who has an addictive personality or has trouble being away from your family and stuff, it's like a lot of people get into trouble. Like it's like there's just booze and drugs around all the time, right?
Women too.
Well, not in my case, but
Yeah,
I've heard I've heard
yeah.
the tale told that that is the case. But again, like I don't in my world, that's not my experience. Maybe that might be in Motley Crue's world or something like that. But I'm sure that makes for good autobiographies and stuff. But no, I mean.
But like it must be different if you're the guy singing compared to the guy
sure.
on the guitar, because
for sure.
the night before you can't be having 8 beers because
No.
your voice needs to be good to go. For
Yeah,
the next
that's right.
day.
That's right. And I've done both. I've done the nights where you have 8 beers
And some went up.
and the next day is tough. I mean, yeah, I feel like in some ways I just it sounds just obvious to say, but like if you can be in your top game and lead everybody else with that, have that attitude, be in a good mood, like be sharp, everybody else around you wants to follow suit, right? If you kind of just say like, oh, I'm just gonna party all night, well then it gives everybody else a kind of like license to do the same.
Yeah.
And I don't tell people what to do. I mean, it's their life, right? It's like at the end of the day, it's like it's about the show. If you're not performing well, and it's because you're drinking 8 beers, then we'll talk about it. But
do you talk about it, or does your manager talk to them about it?
No, I do. I do. Yeah, for sure. I mean, both. My manager is really involved in, like, we make the records together, and he does all the business side of it too. He's pretty intimately involved in everything I do, So, but I just mean, people know. People are smart. You got to give people credit, right? It's like, you don't have to shame someone, right? If they make a bad move or if they make a bad decision.
We're adults.
Yeah, people know, right? So, anyway, all that to be said is just the old adage of lead by example, I think, is a good one, and I think it sort of forces everybody around you to be stronger, Okay. So yeah, I think just going and getting up and getting after it every day is a good way to do it. And when you're on tour, it's no different. Like I said, you're just like, it's exciting, right? You're in some place that you don't know, or in some cases you do know. You've been there 10 times before, and you're like, great, we're in New York City, or we're here, and let's go to my favorite deli, or let's go do this, But it's really is like, it is a club, it's a team, when you're with your band and crew and you're traveling around like that. You're living in this like little insular bubble, right? It's like,
which is the bus.
Yeah, the bus. I mean, the bus is like the your home or whatever.
Yeah.
But I just mean, you want those people to be all really high quality, right? Because you're with them. You're not just with them on stage, right?
Yeah.
You're literally sleeping
2
feet away from them, and you're eating with them, and you're hanging out with them every day. And if you're in a fight with your wife and you're on the phone, it's like they're going to be 5 feet away listening to everything. So you want to be around people that you care about, that are cool, that are fun to hang out with. Yeah. And then on top of that, they have to be really great musicians.
Yeah, I was going to say.
You know what I mean? So it's like, it's a tall order. You know? It's like, it's that's why when you get a good band, it's so special, and you want to, that's what makes it so fun. It's just like good people, basically. If you had shitty people, it wouldn't be a very, very fun job,
Yeah, you got to.
And that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just gotta grab a water.
Mm-hmm.
You want a water? Mark, do you want one? Oh, I'm good.
Yeah, sure.
You want one?
Yeah.
Sparkling or regular?
Ooh, sparkling, eh? She's an aristocrat. There you go. I like it.
Lemon? No, we only have lemon.
That sounds good. I'll take that.
Interesting interlude.
What's that?
Interesting interlude, I said.
Yeah.
Well, we had a guy come
Lemon
out here
Perrier.
once, and I was like, "Do you want a water?" And he goes, "Do you have Perrier?" I was like, "No." And then since then, I was like, "I gotta get some Perrier."
Oh yeah, Perrier's good.
Yeah, man, I gotta get on tour somehow. I don't know how we'll do it, but it sounds like a good time.
Well, geez, tell me about it. I'd like. Yeah, I don't think anyone's touring right now, so it might be. If you can crack the code and figure it out, then let me know, and I'll just follow your lead. But nobody's touring now.
I know it's brutal. What
Yeah.
are, you don't have to answer this question, but I'd like if you could.
Mm.
What are some requests that you have for your dressing room?
Uh,
That's a
It's-
fair question.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
fair.
for sure. It's fair. It's fair. It's pretty unexciting. I mean, the main thing is like because we load in so early, right?
Oh.
So the crew guys, they work all day, right? They get all the equipment in there and take all day to build the stage and the lights and all the whatever stuff's going on. So you need to have food around for those guys. So
Okay.
it's like a breakfast, lunch, and dinner kind of thing, you know. So in the best case scenario, you have sort of some catered food for everybody. But yeah, it's pretty simple. I don't know, coffee. I like a tea kettle in the dressing room. We like to make tea, like to make coffee, and there's probably some wine on there.
There you go.
There's some couple cans of Guinness usually. Every once in a while, I'll get a bottle of tequila, but that less and less, you know, as the years go on. That'll kill you, you know. But anyway, yeah, it's pretty simple. I don't know. There's no M&Ms or any weird things like that.
Black
It's like-
towels.
yeah,
I've heard some weird ones.
I mean, there's generally towels around. Towels are a good thing because there's no shower on the bus, right? So you have
Yeah.
to like rent towels. People don't know that stuff.
What do you rent towels? Like from a hotel nearby to bring them down?
Well,
how
you
do you
do one
rent
of two. You do
towels?
one of two things. For instance, at the Rebecca Cohen,
Yeah.
they have a shower there,
Awesome.
right? So you need towels.
Mm.
So if you're traveling around, how do you get towels? There's companies that will do that, right?
It's news to me.
Yeah. So well, in this case, you just do it through the promoter, who's ever doing the show, right?
Okay,
You say,
cool.
okay, I need 12 towels, bath towels, and that's an expense, right? You got to pay for that, right? So you rent these towels, and people use them and throw them on the floor, and then somebody picks them up and rents them to some other band.
It all adds
But-
up.
So you cannot do that, and if the venue doesn't have a shower, you get what's called a day room. So you get one hotel room, and you ask the front desk, you say, I need 12 towels in the room, and they usually look at you pretty funny. You say, I have no intention of sleeping in that room. We're just using it to shower, right? So everyone will take turns going to the hotel to take a shower. So yeah, it's just like when I say it out loud like that, it just sounds so terrible. It's not that bad, you know what I mean? It's just like it's just part of being on tour. It's like some people shower in the morning, some people shower after the show. I usually shower after the show. But anyway, it's yeah, it's just funny. It's a funny lifestyle for sure.
Do you miss it right now? Like, are you at the point where you're kind of going nuts? Or you just want to perform?
I'm not going nuts. I mean, I certainly miss, you know, like I said, my band and crew, and I miss performing. But I'm not bored. I have a lot to do every day, and I'm sort of working on a bunch of different projects, and I mean, truthfully, I've really enjoyed this time at home. I don't think I would have come to that on my own. I think whenever I have a problem, or I want to, you know, make some step forward, I always think that like doing more is the answer. I always think, oh, I'll make more money, or I'll take on more projects, or I'll do this, or I'll do that. It never would have dawned on me in a million years to just stop everything and do nothing
Yeah.
and go nowhere. So the upside of that is that I've, you know, got to spend so much time with my family, and in some ways it's kind of shaping up to be the best year ever for us. You know, we've just been outside all the time and go to the beach, and, you know, we've eaten a lot of ice cream this summer.
Yeah.
It's been a good one.
What's your go-to flavor?
Privateer's Bounty.
I don't know what that is.
No, it's sort of a niche thing. They have it at Jubilee Junction.
Okay.
But it's tough to find. Whenever I find it, I kind of go for it. But it's a farmer's product. It's not a Scotsburn.
Okay.
So that's the first tip there for you. But anyway, yeah, I do like playing a lot. So I hope that sort of turns back on at some point. But for the time being, I don't know. I'm doing some different recording projects with like different musicians all over the world. And then I have this whole video thing that we've been sort of developing over the last little while.
Yeah, they're great. They're funny.
Yeah, so I have this show in my garage. It's called Tone Tools that actually an episode comes out today. But it's fun. It's just sort of like, it's just a vehicle for me to do whatever I want. You know, I don't really, up until very recently, I've put zero effort into social media. There's something about it that just doesn't sit right with me. I don't like doing it. I don't engage with it on my phone. But I have a camera crew here in Halifax that we work 2 or 3 days a week, and we just make stuff, and then they edit it all, and they figure out,
Nice.
you know, with them, my manager and everybody, they figure out how to put it out and what the best way is to sort of get it out in the world, you know. But for me, that's just the way it works best, you know. But yeah, I just think Instagram seems to me like people haven't really figured out how powerful it is yet. You know, it seems like most people are just using it to post selfies and like jokes and, you know, and that stuff works well on there.
Yeah.
But essentially what they've done is given every single person like their own channel, right? You can post a hour-long thing on the Instagram TV if you want, right?
You don't need a network television
Exactly.
show.
So it's like, it's sort of just the same way kind of YouTube has done that. It's like Instagram seems to be, people are like it, they're familiar with it, they're comfortable with how it operates, and frankly, they're on it all the time, which, I mean, as you said earlier, it's like, it's you were able to determine that a lot of your listeners were in this part of the world. It's like, it's shocking the amount of information that you can kind of like harvest from these platforms. You know, it's you don't need to be Cambridge Analytica to you know what I mean, like target your audience, so to speak. It's pretty frightening in some ways, just how much you can kind of like understand about people and understand what engages them or let's say triggers them, or you know, you can manipulate people in many ways. And so if you're going to do that, hopefully it's to some positive end. I think we're all kind of struggling with the other side of it right now. It's just like, what's even real anymore? It's like, it's hard to know.
I think that's what makes you stand out, though. Like,
Yeah.
you go on there, you don't sell to anyone. You're just like,
Yeah.
have a good day.
Yeah.
I like Kanye West. He doesn't swear. My kids love him too. See you later.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
great. You know, like it's
Yeah.
different.
Well, that's just sort of the way I'm sort of learning to use it and to learning to put myself out there or whatever. But yeah, it's a strange time, man. It's a very, very, very weird time, because we're moving into this time where I think a lot of low skilled jobs we're going to lose them over the next 10 years, right? There's just, whether it's through automation or whatever. And now we're coming into this period where people are getting used to the idea of getting sent money, and you know, we're transitioning from the CERB to the EI, and there's a big push for basic income, and I do think there's a strong argument for that. But I think it's going to be really interesting over the next few years to see just how the nature of work changes, and how more and more people are going to discover that they have to do it on their own. They have to make their own jobs, and a lot of it's going to be on Instagram or on online, right? It's like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like there's a platform there that a lot of people haven't even discovered yet. They think it's just for entertainment, right? But that's like, there's a whole world there that if you are an entrepreneurial person, industrial person, you can turn that into a job. A lot of people are.
I found my accountant on Instagram.
Yeah.
Like, I was freaking out because I'm bad with numbers, so we're trying to figure things out. And I just found some girl.
I'll give you a tip.
All right.
Just don't spend more than you earn.
Yeah, that's a great advice.
Yeah.
Sound like my mom right now.
Wealthy barber.
Wealthy Barber. My buddy loves that. Did he make 2 books, Wealthy Barber 1 and 2?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he opened up another salon or something. But
Yeah, the Wealthy Barber.
simple advice, goes a long way. Okay, so you met your accountant on Instagram.
Yeah, I'm not going to go into detail, but that's
okay.
all I got. That's all I got.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Not going to go into your detailed financial reports?
Financially, no.
Okay,
Just everything.
good. Me neither.
Everyone buy Manscaped. Use the promo code HB Sports. Appreciate that. And that's
right.
That's no free ads. I
No
know you plugged Farmer's Ice Cream.
Farmer's Ice Cream. No. Jeez, are you
So it'd be
joking,
nice if
man?
they could-
My music has been used to sell sports bras and diamond rings and Canadian Tire hockey sticks and everything in between, man.
You get paid on that, though.
I sold out so long ago. You have no idea. Yeah.
Who cares? I don't mind.
Well, guess what, guys? You aren't buying records anymore. Got to make money somehow.
Got to buy Tacomas.
Reality check. Nobody. When was the last time you bought a CD?
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, there you go.
When was
There's
the last
the
time
answer.
When was the last time I paid for a movie?
Yeah, exactly. So, my industry has changed a lot, and technology is a huge part of that for sure.
Yeah, there is a big riffraff in the music industry now. Well, I don't know anything about it. From what I hear, I always hear Spotify's name out there. I always hear dollars to the cent. I always hear plays. I don't know. It's all a foreign language to me, but.
Well, I mean, yeah, there's not much to it. I mean, the main thing is that artists have been exploited since the dawn of the music industry. You know what I mean? It's
the way it's
artists
been.
have been always ripped off. So is it any surprise that as we move forward with the technology that the technology companies have learned how to rip us off. It's just like the thing about music that the industry knows is that we are going to make the music, whether we get paid or not. It's just in us. It's going to come out. Artists are going to make things. So they take advantage of that. They know that we're going to make stuff, and there's a huge incentive to get things for free, right? Nobody wants to pay for anything. We've essentially taught young people that music is free, movies are free, news is free, everything's free. Shouldn't pay for anything. So it's hard to put the toothpaste back in the tube now, and I think we all agree. We like being able to look up any song at a moment's notice, right?
I was jamming to your music this morning down here in the studio.
Yeah, and that's great. And I think there's so much value to that. I think the fact that essentially the barrier to entry is so much lower now, right? You can make your own album on your computer, and you can make it a really good sounding recording on your own. You don't need a big studio anymore, and you can put it out into the world. You don't need a big label anymore. You can release it on your own. You can do all this stuff on your own that, I mean, I'm not that much older than you, but when I started, we recorded on tape, and it's a laborious process, and you got to hire a guy who knows what he's doing, an engineer. You need to work in a big studio. You need to have financing. It's expensive, right? So the labels were much more relevant then. But anyway, I'm not sure where I was going, but yeah, it's I just think the economics of music is like, if you want to be a musician, then figure out how to make a living. That's all there is to it. You know what I mean? You can spend a lot of energy complaining about the way things are, or you can spend effort working towards something else, working on trying to figure out a way for you to have a living and have a career in music. And I would say, of the two options, that's a much better way to spend your time. I mean, I think everyone agrees that, yeah, we would like it if streaming paid more. But for streaming to pay more, then we all have to pay more, right? That's just how it works.
Subscribers.
Well, not just subscribers, but just the notion of subscribing. It's like, just think, have you ever bought CDs in your life before?
Yeah.
Yeah, you have, right? So here's what it takes. You got to go out and earn the money.
Yeah.
Then you have to say to yourself, okay, I'm going to take part of the money that I earned. I'm going to go down to the record store, and I'm going to take $20 and buy something.
Yeah.
So before you even get into your car, before you've even taken the plastic off, you've made not just an emotional investment, but literally a financial investment in this album. You want to like it. So you might listen to it once, and the first time through, you're like, geez, I don't know if I like this album. I like that one song that I heard on the radio, but I'm not sure about the rest. And then you say, you know what, I'll listen to it again. I paid $20 for it. I may as well listen to it again. And you listen to it the second time and the third time, and by the fourth time you listen to it, you're like, man, this album's amazing. I love track 7. I love track 9. Like, you invest in the music that you listen to, right? And it's much harder to get people to do that with the streaming, with the technology the way it is right now. Because people listen to a song, often they listen to the first 30 seconds of a song, and they decide whether they like it or not. And if they decide they don't like it, they hit next and they go to the next song. So that, to me, is the most challenging thing for artists now. It's like, to make an emotional connection with people is harder on these platforms than it is on a physical product, right? If somebody buys your thing and they bring it home, they're much more invested in it. They're going to spend more time on it.
Okay, now I get it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, they're more invested as they get in the car and go, rather than just buying it online quickly. I get you.
Well,
it's more of an emotional connection.
Yeah,
I get you.
You're literally deciding, hey, I'm going to bring this into my life, into my home.
I
It's going to be part of my thing. So you put time into it and you learn the songs. Whereas if it's just in the cloud, you don't own it, and you listen to 30 seconds and
you can't touch it.
Yeah, you might be skipping over a song that might change your life. You don't know. You know what I mean? So that part of it is I think challenging. It can be frustrating. I don't think about it too much. I'm trying to talk about it now. It's like, it's in some ways it's hard, because it's like, it's sort of this ethereal thing. It's like, it's the way life is. It's the way we all interact with it. You got laptops here. You got a lot of equipment here. This stuff is going to go out online. It's going to live, on some server in like Nevada. You know what I mean? It's just the whole thing, the whole way of life that we have going right now is just like, it's not encouraging anyone to really invest in things in the same way.
Yeah.
So
I see
a
what
lot
you
of that
mean.
stuff happens subconsciously. It's not like you're thinking, you know? But the other way, the physical product way, actually forces you to think about what you're doing, to think about what you're engaging with and what you're spending your money on. You know, I do the same thing with podcasts, where it's like I have a few podcasts that I like to listen to regularly, and then every once in a while I'm like, I should just check out something else. And I'll listen to like the first 10 minutes of something. I'm like, I don't really like this.
Yeah.
Then I'll listen to the first 10 minutes of something else.
That's where,
I don't really
yeah,
like this.
yeah.
You know, it's like,
That's where the truth needs to come out, though, because I find more people connect to the truth. I understand everything you're saying.
Yeah.
I get it. But the
Mhm.
most podcasts that I listen to, people are telling the truth. I can smell bullshit from a mile away when I listen to a podcast.
Sure.
When I listen to your music, I hear the truth. I don't hear bullshit.
Sure.
But
Well,
I understand the emotional connection, everything you're talking about. I get it.
well, that's what people are going to
It's-
respond to in you know, in podcasting and music,
It's the truth.
in everything, you know. But there's even truth itself is under fire, you know. I think it's
Yeah, you're
getting
right.
to the point now where it's like we're having a hard time agreeing on what is true
Yeah.
on so many different issues.
It's so easy
it's
to lie.
yeah. You can find evidence to support your position and sort of establish these other truths too. So it's a strange time for sure. It's a strange time to be in music, but it's also a wonderful time. Like I said, it's like there's nothing preventing anyone from making their own music and putting it out there, you know? And I would encourage people to do that. It's like, don't wait for someone to knock on the door. Like, just get going, get making stuff, get doing your own thing. And when you same thing, you're building your show. At some point, you're working, and you start to create this orbit around your thing. And if your thing is good and, you know, has integrity, you'll start to attract other things that are, you know, have integrity and that are worthy of your time.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Perfect example right now. Swear to God.
Yeah, and I think that's been my experience in music, you know, like, I mean, I've never had like a sort of rocket ship take off in terms of my success or whatever, but it's always been just like a little bit of momentum and an upward trajectory over the 10 years or whatever, you know? And so as you do that, you start to meet more people and they become aware of your music, and you start to sort of like build out this network of people that are just all doing cool things that are just part of your world, you know? And I just like so many good things. There's no shortcut. You just kind of have to do it and earn it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, man.
I have like more questions, but I don't want to like keep you here. You sure you're good? Like what time?
Yeah. Let's do. You want
Just
to
like
can we say another 15? Or
15
something?
minutes is good. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Advice to your 20-year-old self or
Advice?
nice young self.
Oh, jeez. Holy smokes.
Getting deep here.
Getting deep. Well, I mean, like I just said, I just think like get out there and do it. Stop focusing on all the people who aren't noticing what you're doing or wishing that, you know, you had what someone else has. Just do it. Just get out there and do it. I know Nike already kind of got that covered and put it on a shirt and everything, but
Bahamas, just do it.
just do it. You know what I mean? It really is that simple, and you don't need much, you know. Just start working and you will create your own universe, and people will say, "Oh, look what's going on over there. That's really cool. I think I want to be a part of that." You know, whether it's fans or people in the business or whatever. And I've had people that I work with now just tell me straight up when I was younger. They said, "You know, you're doing something cool. Like when you kind of get to a next level, like give me a call. Like maybe we can work together and do something."
Cool.
You know, like they acknowledge that there's potential, but that I wasn't ready. And they weren't, you know what I mean? Like I wasn't in a position where they could really help me.
Like
right?
the Lumineers, like is that an example?
Well,
like-
that didn't particularly work out like that, but I just mean that concept of feeling seen and validated.
Yeah.
But at the same time having to deal with that truth and having someone say you're not ready. You know what I mean? Go back down to the minors, keep training, keep working hard. I know you're there. I see all the work you're putting in. And if your game kind of elevates up a next level, then, you know, we can revisit the idea of you coming up for the majors sort of thing, you know?
I like it.
Yeah, it's that's important But you have to build up your confidence so that you can hear the truth, right? Because a lot of people just live in this fantasy world. They think they're the best at everything.
Yeah.
And then the second someone says, "Oh, we don't like what you do," or
Yeah.
you're not good,
Yeah.
you know, it's like their whole world falls apart.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's important to be your own worst critic, right? Be hardest on yourself, because that way, if anybody else says anything about what you're doing, you've taken the wind out of their sails. You already know that. You say, "Yeah, I screwed up, or I can do better. I can work harder," you know, and then you sort of get a lot of power back through that process. But yeah, I would just if I'm talking to myself, I would say own your mistakes, you know, and have integrity, and I hope that I had that in my youth. But I think that's the main thing. You know, don't pretend to be something you're not. That's as you said, people can see that a mile away, and it might even get you in the door of some places, but it doesn't mean that you're going to get an invitation to come back. You know, it's sort of just I think that's important, and it's hard. It's like everybody's trying to do that. Everybody's trying to find a way to be comfortable in their own skin, whether you work at Royal Bank or you play at the Jazz Fest or whatever. Everyone's trying to do that. It's challenging. But I think that's kind of where the real reward is, you know?
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Afie, thank you for coming on. I appreciate this.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for the lemon Perrier.
Is it lemon? Yeah, it is lemon. Yeah, man, no worries.
Citron.
Can you give a shout out to my buddies?
Mm-hmm.
Can you say, so we got Ben, Sepharis.
Sepharis.
He's Greek. Sepharis, Kevin, and Jasper.
Okay.
I'm trying to think if there's any other guys at the concert that night.
Let me just write this out.
Kevin, too. Say hi to Kev.
Okay, hold on.
So, Ben. Sepharis. Jasper, Kevin.
Kev.
Oh yeah, Burke. We'll just go the whole crew. Brody.
That it?
Man, oh, this is bad. I might be missing someone. 1, 2, 3. Sorry, I gotta look at the group chat here just to make sure I'm not forgetting anyone. Your trainer's gonna be like, where are
No,
you?
no, it's good. Oh yeah.
I don't even know. I think that's everyone. All right, yeah, that's it. Just give her.
Okay. On the mic?
Yeah, just like,
Okay.
just say thanks.
What
I
up,
don't know.
guys? Thanks, Ben, Sepharis, Jasper, Burke, Brody, and can't forget about Kev. Gotta thank Kev. Your buddy Justin over here is doing a hell of a job, and it's been fun hanging out with him. I hope to meet you guys someday soon, whether it's at a show or, maybe at the WAG or, maybe at Larry UTEC Boulevard, maybe at the Costco on Bears Lake there. Either way, look forward to meeting you guys.
Awesome.
See you, dudes.
All right, man. Everyone listening. Actually, last minute of the show is yours. If you want to thank anyone, family, friends, you're good.
I want to thank you guys. I want
man.
to thank you for this water. You got a nice setup here.
Appreciate it.
You got your own merch and everything here.
Well,
right?
those
Jeez.
are for you.
Those are for me.
Well,
Oh
not
my
for you.
God.
We don't have any large or medium left. I don't know what size you are, but those are small, so those are for your kids.
Okay. Fantastic.
All right,
Thank
man.
you.
All right, everyone listening, thank you very much for tuning in. Like I said, Thursday, the week's almost done. Summer's done. Fall's here. Have a great weekend. Stay safe. Work hard. And keep tuning in. I appreciate all the support, guys. Thank you very much. We're out. Peace.
There you go.
Good?
Yep.
Awesome, man.